So I started in seventh grade, and the whole reason was because in normal schooling, I've been doing it for a while, and
Mhm.
it just wasn't giving me enough time or opportunities to
Mhm.
pursue things outside of school because I
Right.
had a lot of different interests.
Thank you so much, Addie. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Yes, and you are one of our most outstanding student in the school, and we're so proud of you. And
Thank
we
you.
have the honor to work with you for many years now.
Oh, thank
So
you. Thank you.
yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, maybe share with us a little bit about your journey. Like, which grade were you in when you first started with Bright Minds? What sparked your interest or like helped you guys make the decision to start with Bright Minds? Like, because not a lot of people, are aware of, oh, they can study this way, right? Like, yeah, if you
Right.
can share a little bit more, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah. So I started with Bright Minds in seventh grade, and so it's been about like yeah, 6, 7 years now since
Wow.
I've started, which is crazy. And it was
Yes.
before everyone was doing online school too, so I was sort of ahead
Mhm.
of the curve
Yes,
before
you are.
COVID. So that was nice because I was just so used to it by the time COVID came.
Yes.
But yeah, so I started in seventh grade, and the whole reason was because in normal schooling, I've been doing it for a while, and
Mhm.
it just wasn't giving me enough time or opportunities to
Mhm.
pursue things outside of school because I
Right.
had a lot of different interests.
Yeah.
So that was around creative writing and piano and other sort of things I wanted to explore. And just because you go to school and it's like 8 hours of your day and then you come back, it's like 2 hours of homework. So you're
Exactly.
pretty exhausted. It's kind of difficult to do anything besides that. So
Hmm.
the whole point of joining BrightMinds for me was it's really flexible and I could sort of go at my own pace, finish work when I have the time, and then devote time to other things so I could be focused in those areas and see what happens. And I think that was really impactful and helped me realize sort of what I want to pursue as a
Hmm.
career or just what I want to do post grad, post high school diploma. So
Yes.
yeah, that's mostly the reason I joined. And also online schooling was a lot more beneficiary for us because instead of homeschooling, which is where my parents play a bigger role, it's
Right.
sort of me taking my own responsibility for my
Hmm.
learning and having to rely on sort of individual learning a lot
Yes.
more than having a constant supervision or teacher support.
Hmm.
So I think that was a lot more helpful, especially in developing, independent initiative and stuff like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I see that like you're always on top of your work, like you put like 120% effort in all of your assignments. Um, and like, can you share a little bit of tips on how do you stay motivated? Like, because I know a lot of students or parents they might concern, oh, if we, do online, then what if my child doesn't do anything, right?
Right,
Like,
right, right.
yeah, or if there's no constant supervision from the teacher, like you don't get to see the teacher every single minute, right, of the day,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
how can you like what tools or what resources do you use to help yourself to like keep learning? Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, so I think with Bright Minds, it was a really interesting experience because the biggest part about school, I think public school, that was holding me back was homework. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times homework is so tedious and monotonous and it's not helpful in a lot of ways, in a lot of subjects, especially for me personally. And so
Hmm.
having Bright Minds where I have the flexibility where there's certain assignments that I need to get done and that
Right.
contribute to my grade, and other assignments I don't need to complete because my learning level is at a different standpoint. And so
Right.
that's a great part of Bright Minds that I think you should really take advantage of your own learning style.
Right.
And sometimes you don't need to do lessons or don't need to delve into work as much if you understand the material. And sometimes you want to go the extra mile and search up things yourself. And I think it's the best part about joining online school is you can really control your own pace of learning and how
Mm-hmm.
you learn. I think that's a really
Mm-hmm.
important aspect. And that ties into the motivation because for me personally, I really enjoy detailed, big projects, research oriented projects. I'm not really a technical guy. This is like math. I'm not that great at it. So I sort of just get by with that. But other stuff like English and sciences and history,
Mm-hmm.
I really like doing research and watching videos and doing really detail oriented work. And so that's sort of my motivation that, okay, at the end of the day, I'm really excited to learn about something that I've controlled and that I've not been
Yes,
given. And
that's
that's the
right.
best thing about
Mm-hmm.
this. So whereas like you have 7 or 8 AOLs assignments that are worth your grade, and I can structure my learning surrounding those AOLs and I think I get a lot more out of that. So personally, I thought it
That's
was a
right.
lot better suited to me and my
Mm-hmm.
learning capabilities because in some places I excel a lot more and I don't need as much help, and in
Mm-hmm.
other places I can sort of motivate myself to want to learn something more and use outside resources. And that you
Mm-hmm.
always had the BrightMind teachers to ask for help as well. So yeah,
That's wonderful, wonderful. So, okay, like I know that you're very talented, like you have like a lot of passions and interests. Can you share a little bit of those areas? Like what are you interested in? Like how do you spend the time to do it, like throughout the day or throughout the week? Or I know
yeah,
that sometimes you take like months off to
yeah,
travel to different countries and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, can you tell me about your day and then also talk about like those trips?
Yeah, yeah, so absolutely. So day to day, I've sort of kept the focus on three major aspects. It's firstly, it's personal projects. So whatever I want to devote my time to, it's reading different things or watching different stuff or writing. I still have kept on the back burner. I really like doing that just for my
Wonderful.
personal growth and merit, especially. I think it's really helpful. And then sort of on the second, I've kept academics and school, which is why I do it so intermittently. But when I'm doing school, I really try to focus and get as much work done as I can,
Hmm.
and that's thanks to the flexibility of BrightMinds. So yeah, I try to focus on academics as much as I can throughout the week. I don't really try to keep a day-to-day schedule. It's like,
Hmm.
what do I want to get done this week? And
Okay.
I try to stick to that, especially with school. And with school, it's different subjects that really interest me for my career. So if I were ever to pursue something academically, I think economics and those kind of life sciences and history are sort of my forte because I really like research and real life problems and social issues and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So that's sort of where I put my focus academically. And then up till now, the most important part for me was extracurricularly, I'm focusing on piano and classical piano
Yes.
studies. And so my day to day would consist of several hours of practice for that. So it's at least 4 hours. You need to time slot. And
Yes.
then there's things outside of piano. So I record videos or if I apply to competitions. And then I have like uh, 3 times I'm learning and have lessons per week. So I'm really practicing a lot for those and preparing. So it's almost like a 6 day schedule where I'm just focusing on piano and music. And so
Wonderful.
that was the day to day sort of thing. And it's changed over years. And also it's the best part about being a Brian Minds is you're sort of alone at home. So you figure out self discipline and self
Hmm.
motivation and you go through ruts and ups and downs and stuff. And so I had my fair share of those. And now I feel like I'm more confident in my abilities,
Hmm.
psychologically, especially, which is, I think, the biggest brunt of the challenge when it comes to online schooling is the
Hmm.
psychological challenge of it,
Right.
and especially figuring out, okay, what do I want to do outside of school because you just have so much more time to spend.
Right.
And then on a larger, more macro scale, I think it was going to different places. So over in seventh grade, I started uh, homeschooling and schooling at Bright Minds. And then a couple years later in 2020, I went to India, and this
Oh,
was around COVID time. So it
wow.
was, I got sort of stuck there and I was there for around 8 or 9 months. But it was in this really secluded place in the Himalayan mountains. And I have a bit of family there. So I was staying with them and I just devoted a lot of time to writing. And I finished a novella there as well, and then a lot of time to piano, which is why I started taking piano really seriously. So that was a really interesting time because I'd never been outside of Canada for
Hmm.
longer than 2 weeks, maybe. I'd never been without my family, so I was away from
Hmm.
home. And I was sort of taking care of myself and washing
Wow.
dishes and making food. So it was a really interesting thing. And so I came back from that 8 month, 9 month experience in India, very rejuvenated, and it was super
Wow.
super inspiring. And so yeah, that was a sort of big part of it. And then I sort of realized, what do I really want to do outside of academic pursuits? And that was piano and writing and music. And so I started devoting more time to that. And subsequently, it sort of built on, and I started studying really seriously classical music in specific. And then besides that, I've done also programs here and there. I really like going to programs abroad and meeting new people because that's sort of my output to be extroverted and meet others since I'm home
Yes.
alone all this time.
Yes.
So, like in 2019, I went to Duke for a writing camp, Duke
Yes.
University in North Carolina. So that was really cool. It was like a 2 week
Amazing.
experience. And then just last year, I went to a pre-college program at Harvard, and that was really cool because I've sort of been honing in on economics and those kind of sciences. And so I got to take a course there and meet professors there and grad students there, and
Hmm.
then other students who are prospective Harvard students. Now, some are older than me; they're already going to Harvard, so that's really cool. But yeah, that
And
was
you
a
get
really
to build that
eye-opening.
connection. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. It was really interesting because you, I barely venture out of home in my sort of self enclosed space. So every time I go somewhere, like that was Boston, and again, I'm away from home and I'm alone, and it's another 2 weeks. But you really get to figure out, who you are and learn a lot about yourself and your
Hmm.
habits, and especially get to just meet a lot of cool people. I think networking is really my favorite thing about going to these programs.
Yes.
So now that senior year is coming up, I sort of have a better idea of what I want to do and a lot of inspiration from others, that I met.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
And so this is going to be your final year of high school coming up,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so moving forward, what are some of your goals and dreams? And and how do you think what are some of the planning you have for yourself in this
yeah.
upcoming year?
Yeah, so I've been looking at schools to apply for. I'm planning to study abroad, probably. So
Oh.
outside of Canada is what
Hmm.
my goal's always been,
Yes.
just because I really like experiencing new countries, and it's sort of my
Yes.
my thing. So, yeah, definitely applying the programs and mostly surrounding the subjects that are my forte or that I excel
Hmm.
in, which is probably English, history, econ, and maybe the biology a little. I think I'm good at, but mostly econ and stuff like that. I really enjoy.
Hmm.
So probably studying that for my postgraduate or my undergraduate degrees is what the short-term plan is. And then
Yes.
after that, I don't really know because I have
Right.
so many interests. I think the biggest pro has been I've been able to explore so many different aspects of
Yes.
my passions. But also the con is I feel like I love too many things. It's so hard to decide for me sometimes what I want to pursue.
Right.
So that's kind of been the moral issue I've had the last couple months. Like, what do I really want to do? Because I like too much, So, which is a good problem to have.
Which is a good problem.
It's a
Yes.
good problem to have because I feel confident in a bunch of things. So, yeah,
Hmm.
that's the short term plan. And long term, I think I want to focus on building something great and building something for
Yes.
myself. I don't really like adhering to like normal things and
Mm.
normal routines and
Right.
sessions. And well, I really respect those things, but I really just want to build something for myself, a business or something that I
Yes.
can grow and pursue with my own control. And that's the biggest thing I've
Hmm.
learned from BrightMinds is I really like having control over my life,
Yes.
my learning, my work. I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm really grateful to have that mindset going into undergraduate
Mhm.
years and sort of what I want to do. So yeah,
Those are really amazing stories. Like your life
sure.
experiences, really enriching, and then it's
Yeah.
gonna be very inspiring to like
Yeah.
others.
Yeah, sure. I'll definitely be able to send over some
Yes,
pictures. I'll
and I
go through my
saw
camera roll.
I saw your performance videos,
Yeah.
so those are amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, it's
yeah.
like
It's really fun.
professional level.
Yeah, yeah, not yeah. I mean, yeah, it was funny because I switched over so late to studying classical. Usually, if you study classical piano and become a pianist, it's like you're studying from age 5, and it's really, really harsh, and you have to be in a
Yes.
really, really conducive learning environment. But I sort of started taking it seriously around 12 or 13, which is considered late, even though I'd been learning for a couple of years. So the whole brunt of it has been, how can I accelerate my progress as much as possible?
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I've been working so hard with my teacher, and he's a really, really accomplished concert pianist. So
Wow.
yeah, that's where it's come to. The last 2.5 years has been quite a grind for that. But yeah,
Right. And
yeah,
I feel like you have this mindset that really helps you grow and accelerate. And
hmm
like some people might say, "Oh, I'm already like at age 13 or 12, like it's a little bit late for me to become like a concert pianist or something like that."
hmm
But you took you believed that you can
hmm
still make it happen, like, right? So
right,
you have this growth mindset. Can you tell me a little bit about your mindset and what
yeah.
makes you have this decision and that you actually do it? Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's especially with music, it's really important to have a lot of self-belief.
Mm.
And in piano, it's a field that's been so popular and so saturated for hundreds of years.
Yes.
So you're bound to find a pianist that's better than you. It's almost impossible to be the best of something because you're always going to find someone better than you. And I
Right.
think that's the greatest and the worst thing about music. It's
Mm,
the point of comparison. So I think what happens with a lot of people who want to have this mindset of growth and becoming really great at something is you really start comparing yourself to others
mm,
and this thing that you're not worthy to become the best or you can't. And so I
mm,
think the biggest sort of thing that also held me back a lot of times is not having the confidence to
mm,
continue working and believe in myself. And I think that
mm.
was the biggest thing you sort of need to learn, that it's
Right.
really important to look up to others and be inspired, but not make that the catalyst for your motivation. Because as
Right.
soon as you start making other people the motivation for your work, you
Mm,
start to lose the passion. And that's a really, really important aspect. So I
mhm,
think a really big part of the growth mindset is making sure to keep that flame alive within you with a
mm.
motivation that's really pure and not diminishing it or salvaging it at the expense of someone else or being
Right.
enamored by the abilities of someone else. I think it's really important to keep believing in yourself and keep moving forward. And most of all, I think hard work above all is really important
Yes.
because no matter what, talent only gets you so somewhere, small after a certain point, especially in piano. I realized it's probably the best example, and it's taught me a lot that with piano you don't have any shortcuts. It's like you
Right.
either practice or you don't, and you get
Right.
better or you don't. You can't really wing it. Sometimes on a test, I if I haven't studied, I know I
You can
can
wing
sort
it.
of wing it. I can wing it. But if I have a lesson coming up and I haven't practiced, I'll have to move it or I have to suffer the consequences because
Right.
it's just that's the consequences of not living up
Practicing.
to the work rate or discipline. So I think that's a really great part that you just sort of stay focused and stay to it,
Hmm.
and try not to look too much into the future. I think also you sort of place such high expectations on yourself, especially in this world, day and age, where everything is social media and you can sort of see the lifestyles of all these great
Yes.
people. And then you
Yes.
start to place those expectations on yourself, and it sets the bar so high, and then
Mm.
you'll never start. It's just, I've read so many books and watched so many videos on procrastination syndrome and all
Right.
this, and what happens when you think you can't do it. So I think it's just really important to stay clear and not think. Don't overthink. I
Right.
always used to overthink. Just don't overthink it. Don't
Don't overthink.
analyze.
Just do
Don't
it.
overanalyze. Just do it. Yeah, Nike.
Yes.
Just do it.
Let's just do it.
So yeah, it's the perfect slogan.
I love that. I love that. Oh, thank you so much. I
No,
feel
thank you
very
so much.
inspired, and I really enjoyed this talk because I get to know you more
Oh
on the
yeah,
personal level. Like
thank
even
you.
though we have been like working with each other for years,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
but it's nice to hear like your story from you,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
very
No,
nice.
it's
Yeah.
great. I'm really happy to, and I think it's happened great in the past few months. I think we only met a couple months ago too, as well, which is really funny since we've been working for so long. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, it's always been great working with you and
Yes.
BrightMinds in general. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much,
No,
Eddie,
thank you.
and have a
Thank
great
you.
day.